Well, good morning. Have you ever wanted to start something and found that you're being sort of held back? Maybe you've struggled with getting going and then keeping going and keeping that momentum. Sorry about the background noise there. If that's you, then you will love this week's Monday Motivation. So this week's Monday Motivation is just for you if you have got, maybe it's a project, maybe it's a plan, maybe it's even a desire or a goal, something that you would like to do. And as always, this is these Monday Motivations are not just inspired by some of the things that the clients will be telling me about, it's also inspired by my own life. So as you'll know, we are now 6 weeks out from the London Marathon, which had been postponed until the 4th of October this year. And then, so if you're watching this in the future, you know, I hopefully would have run it, you know. And one of the things that happened that I found really, really difficult in this marathon journey wasn't so much the getting going and keeping going in marathon practice and marathon training, but it was when they announced, you know, this is not going to go ahead. It's not going to go ahead. We're going to postpone it. And then they were like, well, we don't know if it's going to go ahead. Wait and see. I found that really, really difficult. So here are some of the insights of things that I've done myself. And, you know, in all honesty, some of the things that I didn't do to help me get going and keep going, because I realised in speaking to clients just recently on some of the goals that they wanted to achieve, some of them do want to be more visible. They're ready to get out there, you know, they're ready to make a difference and have found things that have stopped them. Now, ultimately, the biggest challenge that we get, hey, morning Ivona, thanks for popping on and saying hi. Some of the things that can stop us often start from something that is just commonly known as mindset. Put another way, it's what we believe we can or what we believe we can't do. And it really starts from there. So if we have a little bit of an inkling that, you know what, maybe this is possible, the next piece that people tend to get into is, well, how can I have it happen? How can I make it? And that's normally where they get stuck. So I'm going to share with you just 3 very quick and easy tips for you to use this Monday. And I'm going to invite you to do something. I'm going to respect and honour your time, a late start because of a washing machine that was still finishing. It should have finished earlier. But I'm going to invite you, the minute that this is finished, to give yourself like between 3-5 minutes. If you've got longer, brilliant. Just to look at which one of these 3 things you're going to do first off. Hey, morning Eunice. Good to see you. And Glenn. Hi Glenn, good to see you too. So waving right back at you. So depending on where you are in the process, you might be thinking of starting something but are not sure how to get started or what to do. Or you might have started it and it might need a bit of a kickstart or a restart. So the first thing to do is have a look at where you are in that. Are you thinking of something? And, you know, get something that's real. Maybe something you want to do this week, because now we've got the motivation that we can all do it together. Maybe something that you want to at least start this week, or maybe something that you've started and maybe fell off the wagon a little bit. So have you got that thing? If you've got something, just give me a thumbs up or a love heart on there. And I know, and of course, if you've got questions about it, the unique thing is that with these Monday Motivations, you can actually ask me questions without going into the actual subject, and I can still answer them for you. So if you're live and you'd like to do that, then I'll be more than happy to answer that. Because of course, after that, I will be coaching my own clients all day today. So quite often people come back to me weeks later, months later, days later and say, oh Jenny, you know, can you just check this out for me? And unfortunately, this is the space to do it. If not, you snooze, you lose. So 3 things to think about when you are either starting something or getting going and keeping going. So the first thing are the results. Now, I know that sounds really strange, but, you know, it's very commonly said, start with the end in mind, you know, how to win friends and influence people. So one of the things that I find, especially when I get into these close and personal conversations with clients, is we look at some of the goals, some of the things they want to achieve. And before we even start to plan the how or how long or anything else like that, we need to get really, really clear on what you're aiming for. So for example, let's take the marathon, My goal is to run the marathon, but there's more detail behind that. And there's specific detail behind that which would believe me to think that I can do the thing or I can't do the thing. So depending on what your thing is, like what is it, what's the result that you want to achieve? And, it comes on to the next point, which is, I'll tell you in a second, but this first point is about the results. Start with the end in mind. What is it that you want to achieve? Go in really deeply to those results. A lot of the time, and I get this a lot when I'm helping people with their public speaking, and when they're doing their videos and things like that, any sort of presentation where they're putting themselves out there, quite often they start to see the results that could be achieved, but they see the worst case scenario. So they'll see themselves tripping up over their words, going red, everybody looking at them and they're feeling a bit kind of out of sorts, feeling that they need to write a script, otherwise they're not going to be able to do it unless they read it, for example. And those are some of the ways in which we can imagine the outcome that we don't want. So getting really clear on what you want, on the result that you want, number one, helps you to be able to just create that outcome so that you can start to look at how you can and focus towards that goal. So the second is belief, and I talked about that a little bit. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. So if you start to tell yourself, and I definitely found this through my own journey, there were times when I was like, who am I kidding? How can I run that amount of, that journey? How can I do it? How can I do it? I've never run, I've even said to people, and it's like an affirmation, but I've never even run 10K before. It's like affirming that I won't be able to do the thing because of something else. And quite often we can attach our beliefs onto a point of reference in our life that we can resonate with or that we can level with. And when we do that, we're trying to get evidence, if you like, that we can't do the thing, not that we can. So why not switch it up? Why not use it to think of a time when you did do something and it just gave you a really great feeling? Everything around it you saw was wonderful. You felt great. You heard people congratulating you, and whatever that thing is, and map it across to that, your point of reference. Now, for some of you, you'll go away and you'll be able to make a start to this and get a real difference. And for some of you, you'll still get stuck. For those of you that might still get stuck and need some help with it, I would say get some help. Of course, I would like to be the person to help you, but if not me, get some help. And here's what I've been discussing a lot with clients, and we've all done it, including myself, where we want some help, so we'll ask our friends and family. Now, our friends and family aren't trained, so for example, for training to run the London Marathon, I can speak to family and friends and ask them for their opinions, but unless they are, adept at training somebody to run a marathon, it kind of falls on deaf ears. And the other thing that can happen is you could get the worry and concern of the friends. So the advice that they give you, which is just advice, is very measured. It also, for many of the people that I speak to, they've already got a seed of doubt in their mind, and it just affirms that doubt. Are you sure about this? You could hurt yourself, and don't worry about it. There's always next year. And then before you know it, you're taking on somebody else's goal, desire, or outcome. So if this is you and you do want help specifically with being more visible, I created a system back in 2010. In fact, it was before then, but I didn't know it was a system. I didn't think it was repeatable. I thought it had to be very individual for anyone that I worked with. And although it's personalised, I can help take you through the various stages that you might need. And some people, we go deeper into the mindset, we get deeper into the actual visibility of it all. And for others, then we can kind of move through the 5 steps. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm actually working currently with some people over a 6-month period Why 6 months? I want to take you through this very kind of strange and unusual time, but I'm actually working with people privately, personally, just you and me. So if that's something that you would like to do, send me a message to this page and I will let you know the details of what needs to happen. Obviously, we'll be working personally. We need to know that it's a good fit. So we need to have a conversation to make sure that I'm the person to help you and that you haven't already got or done what you actually need. So anyway, I digress. So back to the belief part. So the belief part is really knowing with kind of like an unshakable confidence that you can. And again, as another example, I find that people go through this when it comes to doing video. And sometimes they just say, oh, screw it, I'll just do it. I'm just going to do the video and I'm just going to keep doing it a lot and I'll get used to it, which is great. It builds up their muscle for putting themselves out there. And then they'll come back to me and say, well, this is really strange. You know, I'm quite comfortable on camera. I'm offering my products and services and people aren't taking them up. They aren't buying them. What happened, So that'll be the next step of, well, how do you put yourself out there, for example, on camera? And one of the things that comes up a lot is that people think, well, no one's ever going to buy from me. You know, there's so many other gazillion people out there in the world, and all of the stuff that we believe to be true comes up. So the first step is start with the end in mind. What result are you going for? Be really crystal clear on what that result is, what it would look like for you, what it would feel like for you, and how it would impact you, like really impact you in a real way. Second is the belief. If you believe you can, or whether you believe you can, or whether you believe you can't, you're right. So why not choose the path of I believe I can do it and get some help along the way to get there. And then the third thing is what chunk size is it in? Let me give you an analogy that I think will be really helpful. Imagine in front of you, you've got your favourite cake or your favourite food, okay? It's perfect for you, you love it, you love the flavour, you love everything about it. And I'm about to give you or offer you a piece of this. And rather than offering you maybe a slice of cake, I pick the whole thing up and I shove it in your face. And you're trying to consume all of this at the same time. It kind of takes it from being a really great experience to, not so great experience. This pleasant and excited piece of information that you wanted to consume, all of a sudden is just shoved in your face. And when we set our goals, sometimes we can do that. With my marathon training, I definitely had to stop thinking 26.2 miles at the start. It was so intimidating for me as a then non-runner to go out the door and think 26.2 miles, that's a lot, it is a lot. So why not chunk it down? So is it that you're thinking of doing something new, a new program? Yes, start with the end in mind and map out where you want to get to, but then chunk it down. What's the first thing you need to do? Do you need to find some help to get it out there? Do you need to just create a name first? Do you need to get some nice graphics done for yourself? Do you need to tell people about it? Do you need to make sure that it is something that people want? Chunk it down into much smaller parts. The how of actually how you get the stuff done will be a lot easier to create and will flow a lot more. I had this experience just the month before last where I put something out because of the amount of people that were asking me on this specific subject. So I put it out there. I was very clear on what that outcome was. I knew definitely who it was for, definitely who it was not for. A lot of my products and services that I put out there, this is not for people that with the best of respect want to maybe ring me and say, look, I'll do a swap with you. That's not who it's for, because there's a different mindset behind that than there is for, I'm going to pay the money and I'm going to get it done. So thinking about those things like, who is it for, who is it not for? You can only be clear on that when you've started with the end in mind. If I come to you and say, I'm thinking that you might like to learn a bit about being consistent on video in a way that sells your services when people can't see, what do you think? How does that feel? Never mind how does it sound, but how does it feel? And sometimes I see people inadvertently doing that. They might write a post, they might put a video out, they might write a story and they'll start with an apology. Again, something I see a lot with public speakers. I really hate public speaking and I get really nervous, so forgive me. What that actually does is, it's not even a credibility thing. We all sit there, because you want the best for the person that's presenting. So we all sit there, heart in mouth, hoping everything's going to be fine, willing it's going to be well. And that can get in the way of the very important message that the person wants to deliver. So, with a lot of the people that I work with, they're business owners, they're senior execs, they're senior professionals. They can't afford to have them put themselves out there and then have something not go in the way that, that needs to. They can't afford to wait another 6 months, another few years, wait and see what happens in 2 or 3 years' time, wait and see what happens after the pandemic. Their time's now. And I know this because even during these times, people are still wanting to work with businesses like yours and people like yours, people like me. I'm still getting booked. I've had 3 bookings to speak even during this time, 2 of which are paid bookings. So people need your information. And this is the reason why I'm sharing this, because as you can tell, I'm passionate about you putting yourself out there in a way that's cozy and comfortable. But sometimes it feels a bit uncomfortable to start off with while we navigate these pieces. Ivona comes and watches most of these Monday motivations live, and she doesn't sit in the background. She says hello, she'll ask her questions, or she'll make comments. She'll even share these, as many of you do, to which, by the way, if you know somebody that needs a bit of a kickstart and they're starting something, it could be you. You never know who of your Facebook friends need this. So, do share it on your personal timeline. There's somebody in your Facebook connection who's like, oh, thank goodness, now there's a way to do this. So that's it from me. So what I invite you to do this week, so the 3 things, if you're starting something, identify if you're about to start it or if you're in it and you need to kickstart it. That's the first thing. Which one of those are you? And then the 3 things to do, start with the end in mind. Get really clear on the results that you're looking for. And I think the emotional piece of that is far stronger than the ticking things off a to-do list. Look at your beliefs, check your beliefs. Sometimes we go into things thinking, yeah, I'm cool about it, and then something happens, or somebody says something, or we see something, and it rocks us. It rocks us because it's maybe not as deep rooted as we thought it would, was or should be. And then the 3rd thing is check out your chunk size. How big a chunk are you making it? Are you trying to do everything? When I moved into this place, or when we moved into this place in lockdown, and they started cancelling all the furniture on us, we could have gone, the minute everything's open, let's get it all in there. But you know what? We did bit by bit, we chunked it down. Rather than saying we need all the furniture, we looked at, what's most important first? Something to sleep on, something to sit on, something to eat from, something to cook with. Which one's most important? And we'll go with those first. And before you know it, then everything is there. So look at the chunk size and look at where you can actually chunk it down so that you can at least get started. And once you've ticked that thing off, then you go for something else. All of that is much easier when you know exactly where you're heading to. So just take a couple of minutes, it might be 2 to 5 minutes right now as I end this Facebook Live, as I end this Monday motivation, to think about your thing. Are you starting it? Are you already in it? Does it need a kickstart? And where you sit on those 3 beliefs. Now, a word to the wise. If when you look through it, you're like, oh my gosh, pretty low score on all of them, that's a great place to start. You've now identified your starting point. It's when you want to start something and you're not sure how to proceed with it or where to go with it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for the comments. Ivona says thanks for the mention. Ivona, you are more than welcome. Thank you for watching this live. And I look forward to any comments or thoughts that you have. And you know what I really love? Updates. Any updates that you have as you're watching this where you've applied it to something. It could be, preparing your meals for the rest of the week, to give you more time. Any updates I love, because as I always tell you, I'm nosy by nature. I love to hear how you get on. Thank you so much for joining me. Go at it. Where are you in the starting or in the kick-starting of it? What are your 3 pieces? And go out there, go forth and be awesome. Be seen, be heard and get visible. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.